Okay. Hello, all of 20 people in the audience. The fuck is going on? What is this?
Well, we are delaying the panel for
Why?
Because we have to card folks to let them in because it's a 21 panel. We can't let minors in. We're drinking happy juice.
I know some conventions where things turn on time.
Yeah. Please, David, I'll disagree with you, judging by a panel that I was on. Oh, okay.
Says the old man who I specifically reminded was on this panel, and I asked, where is Kage? 5 minutes before the panel. And
He was in the natatorium, my dear boy.
Taking a dip to refresh his old bones.
Yes! What is this shit?
I don't know, but you're really bad at putting it on the tip. The shit that you're just trying to...
Power, yay!
This was the drunkest 21 in the room that stuck to me! Ow!
I got hair, dude! Ow! Fuck, okay, it's done. There, we fixed it.
This guy's the free boxing with the convention.
Over 21, 3 times over. Thank you very much. Have some penises.
Thank you, sir.
Not the first time.
You know how you know you made it in the band when Uncle Kage goes, you have some penises.
Have some material. It's ever so much nicer than beer. I'm not trying to tempt you, that wouldn't be right. You shouldn't experience at this time of night. Have some fear of a dear. You really have nothing to fear. Now, if you were gin, you'd be going to say yes. The evil gin does would be hard to assess. And besides, I do very prowess. Have some dear on the dear.
Let us sing a song for our worthy host over here. This is a history panel, right?
Yes.
We need something involving history, don't we?
Oh, wait, I have a song. I have a song about evacuation of Greece.
Whoa!
It's a song about a sailor in the ancient Greek merchant marine, and he has lost all his money gambling, and he's trying to convince his shipmates to get back to the game so he can win his money back, so he can have a date with his girlfriend. It goes like this, you all know it. Bend over, Greek sailor, bend over to me. I need satisfaction, so get down on your knees. Bend over, Greek sailor, bend over to me. For I get so lonely when I go to sea. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Wonderful song. I'm the voice of God, apparently.
Which one? We're talking Greece, there's 1,000.
Hey, but they were all pretty cool dudes.
Okay, there's Zeus. Zeus used to disguise himself as animals to have sex with broads. I'm just sorry, I'm just saying. He did that.
Furries have existed for a long time.
Since Greece.
And on that note, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Tipsy Time Machine. The way this panel is going to work, it is very much like the show Drunk History. We will be up here, we will be imbibing, and we will be recounting tales of history with hilarious inaccuracy, or just making shit up as we go. Whichever's funny. I will be your master of ceremonies, which means I will be providing the prompts, the questions, and all of our talking points, because as the only licensed accredited historian on this panel, if somebody questions me, my answer is, fuck you, I'm a historian. So,
we need that.
Yes.
I am too.
I'm a wash.
I am too.
I'm a drunk historian, so my
We're
job
doomed.
is to prove
Hey,
most of your speeches are myths made up.
I have read several Wikipedia pages.
And edited.
That's how most of us start. Anyway, gentlemen, we will start off this panel with a simple one. We're going to go, this is going to be a sort of round table. We will go down the row. Each of us will answer the question in turn. What is the worst time period for the modern furry fandom, excluding the current era, to exist in?
When you say
Are you calling on me?
Yes, we're going to go down the line.
All right. Haha, you started.
Well, I mean, all the original Olympics were in the nude, right? So I would go with the Greek and Roman times.
Okay, excuse me, I want to expound on that. We're talking the worst period in history. You think the Greek and the Roman would be the worst time to be furry?
That doesn't realize.
Is this in Sparta or not in Sparta?
This is Sparta!
I'm sorry, Ashley.
This is anal.
Story of the
They might get
The proper scream is, "This is consent, thank you."
That is not how. I'm going to stop that sentence before I use the R word. All right, hold on.
When it's inevitable, relax.
There you go. If we're going to go with the worst time period to be a furry in, I'm going to go all the way back to near Paleozoic, because if it's a hunter-gatherer society and we're dressed in fursuits, we look tasty.
I'm going to go kind of dark on this one. So, furries, as a community, what do we do best?
Look.
Ruin things.
Imagine. Great. So obviously, the worst time period for any of us to be existed, it's the Roaring 20s. America is on top of the world. We're the only ones producing anything because Europe has been blown to shit in the Great War. And then, how do we celebrate? We walk on down the street, step into the local saloon and say, "Bartender, pour me a shot." He says, "Sorry, mate, can't do that."
Okay, so he's got a
It's
point.
just been passed.
He's got a point.
Prohibition. No more booze. That's right. The furry fandom existing in Prohibition-era America is represented by Boozy Badger crying into an empty beer stein, begging for the kiss of a bullet.
Excuse me, sir. I must differ. Because I am living in the South. We didn't give a rat's ass about your prohibitionism back then. I would counter that the worst time to be a furry would have been the dark days of the Spanish Inquisition.
That probably wouldn't have gone well for us.
Or as they say in musical terms, Inquisition.
What a show.
Inquisition. Inquisition. Yeah, it's you know how that shit.
Okay, here's the thing. I gotta back him up a little bit. You know why the Roaring 20s wouldn't work for furries? Because we're not flappers, we are fappers. That's how it works, guys.
Speak for yourself.
Fury, go.
Oh, right.
Late 1700s.
You have to hit the button. Touch the button.
Late 1700s. I mean, during the first...
Give me a microphone.
Just speak louder.
Switch.
It's working.
It's on.
Yell louder.
During the late 1700s.
Who's your sound guy?
During the late 1700s, when there is a complete fur trade going on. Think how much your fur is going to cost and how much the queen's going to want for your pelt. That's pretty good. Think about it, guys. The queen is going to be sitting in England. If you're a beaver fur, you're screwed. Because the queen will stand up and say, "I would like a fine hat made out of the finest fur from a weirdo rodent with a flat tail. Bring it to me now. No, I no longer want it."
Is anybody else getting an erection right now? I just want to that was mine.
Kanye, you know how much I love queens.
Oh, dude. Queen Elizabeth, she's like a quilt, I'll tell you.
I don't know what's the
She is. I would. Damn. I wouldn't even fuck with your dick. Did I say that out loud?
So I don't know what the worst time period would be, but I think most interesting would be when Mount Vesuvius erupted. You know, you got all those fursuiters running away from the volcano and they're just stuck in that, poses and fursuits from halfway away, the aftermath.
Sure makes for an interesting first date for those archaeologists.
What was your answer?
Mount Vesuvius, like 79 AD.
Okay. No, I like that. I like that. Because you know what? Here's the thing. If Pompeii were entirely furries, could you imagine what the archaeologists said about that? Like,
Oh my.
we're staying here.
We're descended from wolf people.
I want to point out you picked up your badge in the Pompeii room.
I know.
Oh, there was snow. Oh, God.
Okay, hey, Mr. Historian. Did they not find one of the victims of Vesuvius in the act of self-gratification in his last moments?
To the best of my knowledge, I think I did read that somewhere, yes, but I have not.
I read it too on E621.
What way to go?
7 or 8 times. To make sure he understood the verbose nature.
Okay, tell him that in plain English if you would.
He masturbated a lot to a Vesuvius story. Oh. Because who wouldn't? Dude, if something's gonna blow, it might as well be you.
If the world's gonna go, I want to go first.
Damn it! Yeah, that was solid. That was solid, dude.
So, next question on the docket here.
There's somebody in front.
Do you mind if I answer the question?
Oh, yes, sure.
The time of Roman creativity oppression, when they tried to take those, well, what do we do best, furries? We imagine and create. So, I think that would be a heck of a time when they're murdering people for thinking things that...
Also, hold on. Who the hell yelled out drama? What if somebody yelled out? What if first your message is like drama? And now all I'm thinking is a bunch of furries like with the green fairies. Like, oh my God, I'm a fox now. Like, yeah, no, that works. Go Bohemian furries.
So, the theme of this con is, of course, outer space. So,
Outer space.
Outer space.
Sorry, I have a habit of correcting myself. Sometimes the historian in me wants to strangle the furry. It makes for an interesting relationship. So, gentlemen, how do we fake the moon landing?
How did we fake the moon?
Fuck you!
Fuck you! I'm JFK. You are all my cabinet members. So tell me, gentlemen, if we're going to beat the Russians to the moon, which of course we can't do because there's not enough rocket fuel on the planet and we can't strap Dragor to the rocket yet, how are we going to beat the Russians to that giant ball of cheese in the sky?
Mr. President, the answer is obvious. We get a bunch of circles, we put their faces together, and then we have our moon there, because, wheel of cheese there. And we just throw that into the sky, and we just put them in trolley. Boom.
So we give the Russians the giant wedgie. I like it. Does anybody else have any other suggestions?
It's nice and simple. We all know the moon has contours. It's got divots. It's got mounds. And we also know that filming things at 1/4 the size is way cheaper. We film everything on Kage's ass. We got a nice, and it's the full moon. It's on a full moon. It works out on so many levels. What? You got shot?
Perfect.
That's the Marianas Trench, which is not on the moon, and I just realized that is glorious.
My mom's gonna beat you.
Your mother could kick my ass.
And she will.
Sir! Sounds like I have a new Secretary of Defense.
Make with the talking.
Mr. Iggy, what is your suggestion?
Well, I mean, we made Bigfoot work with some grainy cell phone video. Why don't we just do the same thing with the moon landing and then, lose the tapes? Oh wait, that's actually what happened.
That is what happened, actually.
Well, perhaps I could explain to you, Mr. President, that we perhaps should not try to fool the American people. Maybe we should show them actual signs.
Okay, raise your hand if you know who the fuck I am. All
Fun
right,
run.
thank you.
Nobody asked.
No, the other guy. The older one. What's his name? The Secretary of Things.
No, his name was...
McNamara?
No.
Help me out. What was his name? The Secretary.
God damn Damn it, Sam.
He was the old German guy that everybody listened to. They still listen to him even though he's old.
Hitler?
Henry Kissinger. That's
Who the shit just yelled Hitler?
Oh, God damn it!
Have you heard of it?
Why am I wearing this?
So,
I don't know. I've got
I've had several good suggestions. We have beat the Russians using a giant wedge of cheese to fake the moon landing. We film it on Kage's ass.
Kage's ass.
Or we film it using grainy footage and put it on this newfangled thing called the internet, which I am told will be a viable source of communication within the next several decades. Boy, it kind of blows my mind.
It's a moot point, Mr. President. Your mind is going to be blown in 1963 anyway.
The thing that I absolutely love, and some of you will know exactly where I got this from, but as some of you know, I absolutely love documentaries. I recently watched one on why the moon landing would have been very difficult to fake. And what's the one you always hear about? That them running on the moon is just the footage slowed down, right? You've all heard that? Okay. If you ever get a chance, Adam Ruins Everything. It's probably my favorite. Did you watch it?
Yeah.
Oh my God! Oh my God! Adam Ruins Everything. If you don't know it, it is on Netflix. It says it's 1 season. It's actually 2.
It's only 3.
It just showed up on Netflix. It should know there.
I just watched it on YouTube. That's awesome.
Just finish your sentence.
It would have been impossible because of how smooth the slowed down footage would be. And he goes into great detail on the fact that to figure out the lighting and everything that you see in the video for the slow walk, that was, they slowed down the footage, would have cost more than they spent to send somebody to the moon. Guys, if you ever get a chance, Adam Ruins Everything, I'm telling you right now, worth every minute. The gentleman is one of my heroes, especially after he did the episode about Adam Ruins Everything. Adam Ruins Everything. He ruins his own show.
Lighting was the big one.
Right, yes, lighting was a huge one. And give yourself, guys, just do it. Just watch Adam Ruins Everything, worth every minute.
There's also the fact that they would have had to make this whopping great giant rocket descend up there. That would have cost them a lot of money, and it probably would have been more cost effective just to put a bunch of men into it.
Yep. You watched that too, I assume?
I have just started watching.
Oh, you're in for a treat. There's some really good
It's fantastic.
Yeah, if you ever wanted to quit your job, watch Adam Ruins Everything work. By the end of the episode, you will have already texted your boss. It was an awkward Monday. It's a very awkward Monday.
Is that why the stock market crashed?
You can't prove anything. Shut up.
Make with the pouring.
Gotcha. Ernor, it is your turn to talk again.
Okay, we did say the hours.
Oh, Jeff, want to get our friend over here.
So,
I've got another
Kage, this is for you specifically.
Oh, what? I'm sorry, what? Yes.
So, this is just going off an assumption. I assume you were old enough to have watched Neil Armstrong stand on the moon.
I watched Neil Armstrong walk on the moon. Thank you very much.
Okay, so, what was it like watching that? I'm honestly curious.
I was pissed off.
As somebody who has only ever seen the footage secondhand.
I saw the footage live, and I was tired. I wanted to fucking go to bed. I was fucking 4 years old, and my friend's like, oh no, watch this. I said, but I want to fucking go to bed, Mom! She's like, no, you should watch this. I don't fucking care. I want to go to bed. Put on Ultraman, for shit's sake. That was the exact conversation I had that day. I remember.
It is weird, I'll be honest with you. I've known you for a while now, and one of the things that I've been doing with Xander, as far as history goes, is we have gotten into this kick where we watch the opening credits from cartoons since the inception. Some of them don't even have pictures, they're just radio intros. And I have to ask you, because I'm 35, and the cartoons that I watched, I know, yeah, you laugh, fucker. I might actually be older, I don't know my age.
Dude, I had a bachelor's degree when your parents were fucking, I'm sorry.
Hey, I'm adopted. I am under the impression they never fucked. I want to know, how do you look at cartoons now versus the cartoons that you watched when you were a child? Because I grew up with Thundercats, and I tried to watch that now. It is not watchable.
That is actually a good question for all of us. So, Iggy,
Sure.
would you start, please?
What's the question?
How do you view cartoons now?
Okay,
Your childhood versus now.
Okay. So I have a feeling that everyone else is going to have a very similar answer. At least I hope so. I really am not a huge fan of cartoons today because what Bugs Bunny would do, like, it's not like the slapstick and the stuff that happens during the show. It's that the regular shows where the focus has lots of nostalgia, but just to get to the point, at the beginning of a Bugs Bunny short, he'll be reading Robert Frost, which is something that kids would have read in school, or you have all these references to things that would relate to kids on a different level than SpongeBob SquarePants and running around. Ah! It's funny, but it's a really cheap kind of funny, and it doesn't really relate to people. And I always felt the older cartoons put a lot of thought in. There's classical music played in the background that we all know today, and that is.
Oh, Bugs and Daffy's the conductor. One of the all-time greatest cartoons to this day.
And they take a concept and run it through the entire show.
Yep.
And
All-time
it's just glorious.
Not only that, Mickey, but I would also, just to piggyback off of that, the characters themselves are truly timeless. You can tell what a great, when you have a great character, when you can say, all right, what would Daffy Duck do if we put him on a boat? And that premise by itself is interesting.
That's what we would do.
I thought you were tripping on your flying.
That's not how liquids work. Oh, that was Donald. Sorry, my bad.
Okay, well, thank you, Iggy. Copy.
I'm going to answer your question honestly.
Sure.
When I was a boy, Wile E. Coyote hit the bottom of the cliff and got up and dusted himself off. When I was a boy, forgive me, Mammy Two Shoes was black. And she said, "Thomas, what are you doing there?" But somehow, as a child, I was able to differentiate between this parody of an African-American person and the actual African-American people with whom I interacted. I could somehow tell that this was not real. That's all I have to say.
So then I take it you've seen Song of the South then?
I saw Song of the South in the fucking theater.
No fucking way!
It's awesome. It is
Holy
a great timeless
shit!
Let's
Zippity-day. My oh my, you're really gay. I'll be honest with you.
Here comes the copyright coming our way.
Zippity-doo-dah.
I'm going to pause right now and make my statement.
Go for it.
When I was a wee scrap of a lad, Uncle Remus was a heroic character. He was a man we looked up to. He was a man we admired. He was a man of wisdom. He was a man who was able to come into this disgustingly dysfunctional family and help them understand each other. We loved Uncle Remus. He was everybody's uncle. If there is an insult in Song of the South, I'm afraid that as a small child, it did not cause me to view anybody in a negative fashion other than rich white children.
Very good. Very good. I'm not going to go with the ones from my childhood because honestly, who can remember like the cartoons you watched when you were 4 or 5? You guys can remember that? Yeah, I was drunk then, I think. Me too! So we're going to go to late 80s, early 90s because that's really where my cartoons come from. We're going to talk, yeah, that's what, because I was watching cartoons way too late because fuck yeah. Like, we're talking about, once again, I just mentioned Thundercats. If you want to go really deep into it, Gummy Bears was my bitch. But when I really think back, when I go back and watch, holy shit.
How do you watch it?
Along with the secrets of gummy bear juice.
Son of a bitch!
I'm sorry, my boy.
Valid point. But here's what it comes down to. If I wanted to list the cartoons that I could still watch today, we'd go with Gargoyles. Gargoyles, me and my mate Xander, who is not here. Right, there you are. That's how we met. Our first date was at Gargoyles Convention. It will always be one of my all-time favorite shows. X-Men. I can't remember which incarnation of it, Xander, you know what X-Men was that? The good one. And of course, Batman the Animated Series that don't work.
Yes.
Okay, but here's the thing. I definitely see what you're saying, but you took the creme de la creme. You're talking about putting Daffy Duck and Bugs Bunny versus the cartoons. They're totally different. It is a world of difference between the classics and what we have today, because 2 nights ago, I cried in my garage watching Steven Universe when Garnet fought Yellow Diamond Thingy, whatever. Oh my God, her song was one of the, that didn't exist. This is what I wanted. Cartoons now are for every ages. Cartoons from when I was a kid were for us. I don't know which one I prefer, but I'll tell you this right now. In the last year, I have watched Gargoyles, Batman the Animated Series, and the X-Men that I like. And today, I would choose Steven Universe over everything with Gargoyles.
What about the original Teen Titans?
Yes.
Original Teen Titans was absolutely glorious and wonderful because, once again, it was a cartoon that treated its viewers, a viewership that was pre-teen, a viewership that was early teen, and they treated us like adults. Original Teen Titans went dark. Original Teen Titans dealt with relationship woes. If you remember the episode, Teen Titans dealt with depression. And you know what? Those are all topics that we deal with now as young teens, as preteens. And to me, that was way more important than the storylines of remember to brush your teeth and wash your cup after dinner. So I like today's cartoons better, with obvious exceptions.
This guy's losing the blood in his arm.
Thank you.
What the fuck, dude?
Sit down! And keep talking.
Sit down. Okay, so my answer would be very similar to his, but by the time I was 5, I saw all of the cartoons that all of you grew up with. I was...
Excuse me.
No, exactly. Well, my mom exposed me to all of the best
Marine
cartoons.
Boy, Jungle Emperor, thank you very much.
Superman Silent Edition?
Oh, I love those.
Yeah.
Superman had a cartoon that was a
music in
year
the background
silent
with
production.
Superman in the
You
air.
were saying, I'm
So,
Yes, it was Gordon.
yeah, but yes, I've seen pretty much all the cartoons you guys grew up with. Now, the ones that you like are the artful ones. Everything from Steven Universe here. Now, there's this thin layer of beautiful artistic cartoons that we can all identify with and enjoy on some level. But there's all this dribble like SpongeBob. And so yeah, it seems like as we go, and SpongeBob does have little moments in it, but
It does.
stuff like that.
The fact that, I wish I could remember
The
his name,
cheap children's entertainment.
but there's nothing wrong with you,
Yeah,
they need it.
it's easy. It's easy to do. It's like churning out pop hits on the radio,
I-
but it happens and it floods the market. So that's where I think the big difference is. Instead of cartoons now and cartoons then, it's cartoons that have a level of art and cartoons that are pop.
But here's the thing, and I don't disagree with you.
Yeah.
We are way past the, like, when you see a cartoon now, they're trying for that level of art, and that's amazing to me.
So the final answer to that question is, back then, artistic cartoons were the standard, and nowadays they're rare.
I want to hear from the left side
Yes,
of the
please.
stage.
Sorry, guys.
Sorry.
Sorry about that.
Talk!
Yeah, as I should have suspected, this is a deep, deep can of worms that is full of lots of wiggly, squishy goodness
Earthworm Jim.
for us to dissect and delve into. I will try to keep my answer very brief, since it tends to echo a lot of what we've already heard. I was very lucky to grow up as a child of the 90s when Cartoon Network was becoming highly proliferate.
There's some good ones.
This also means that I was exposed to Bugs Bunny and reruns of the Looney Tunes, which helped inform my ideas of what a good classic cartoon looks like, and it also exposed me to some classical music I would otherwise not have heard. At the same time, I was also exposed to a little programming block, maybe some of you guys have heard of it, called Toonami. Which was I will go out on a limb here and say that Toonami was probably the gateway drug to the crossover between anime and furry that a lot of us occupy. I mean, come on, let's be honest. Everybody in here likes at least one anime, or is seeing one anime that they kind of like. And we're also all furries. So it was interesting to see these classic 1950s and 40s and 60s era cartoons juxtaposed with the new, flashy, weirdly stylized Japanese cartoons that I had never seen before, that had ways of telling stories that were, as I would grow older, realize very quickly when I tried to dive into a little series called Naruto when I was a freshman in college, and quickly discovered that it was full of this little thing called filler. And I would say that the biggest difference for me, besides knowing, being able to detect differences in quality and when a story is, when a cartoon is trying to reach a different audience and tell a very deep story, a la Steven Universe and Gravity Falls, and,
Gravity Falls,
and My Little Pony and other things like that. I'm also able to look at something as easily digestible as, say, Bleach, and get about 10 episodes into it and go, this looks pretty flashy, but I can smell some filler bullshit coming, because there's no way you're filling 400 fucking episodes with meaningful story content, you fucking hacks!
Settle down. Deep breaths now.
Here, have a drink.
So that is my answer. Fury, please.
Okay, my answer is going to have to be, yes, I grew up with classic cartoons, but to cartoons today, if you watch them as an adult, you see how deep they go.
Yes.
For instance, Gravity Falls, watching that as a kid, I love the story behind it, but if you dive deeper into the puzzles within the show, then, I mean, we based a whole convention around it 2 years ago because of how deep that story runs. Look at Rick and Morty. Look at the Pickle Rip episode, how deep that was with the psychologist, how deep she analyzed that whole family. Look at, what was the other one we were talking about right here?
We also mentioned My Little Pony.
Yeah, look at the writing of My Little Pony, how deep that is towards adults and how many people in that family we have that like that because of the writing style.
Not only that, but just to add something to that, Fury, not only do we have adults that enjoy the My Little Pony, but we have an entire sub-community devoted to deeply analyzing every facet of each new episode.
I mean, yeah, we've got the whole community that is psychoanalyzing it. We've got, what's the one you showed me over that analyzes that whole thing? And just...
Silverquill, I think.
No, it's React. Or not React.
Silverquill is pretty cool.
The one where they kind of rip on it, but they react to it.
Yes.
I don't remember, I'm joking.
But yeah,
You're asking me to remember stuff, I'm joking.
everything from nowadays, though, if you watch it as an adult and analyze it, it is, I mean, extremely deep from, I mean, Rick and Morty to that, to even South Park today. I mean, how deep they dive into different facets of our life. I mean, the brand new episodes that just came out of psychoanalyzing what's going on in the world between all the violence we've had, all the wanting to be right and wrong. It's amazing how deep the writing of the show has become. Instead of focusing on the artwork, they're focusing more on the storyline.
I'm sorry, I'm drunk. What was the original question again?
The original question is, how do you view the cartoons that you saw as a child versus your cartoons that you see today? What are maybe some differences that you notice now that you have matured over this?
When you look through the generations for me, you're going to find good and bad no matter what generation you're looking at.
True.
No matter what generation you're looking at, you're going to have your Looney Tunes, you're going to have your Powerpuff Girls, you're going to have your Courage the Cowardly Dogs, and then you're also going to have your Uncle Grandpas.
Oh! They invaded my show!
No, I know, I'm upset about
it. I was not okay with that episode.
But it's the only good episode of Uncle Grandpa ever made. Just because Steven Universe deemed to say,
okay,
I'm going to touch Grandpa. Okay, I'll touch this.
Steven Universe was that good that it could make Uncle Grandpa acceptable? And don't get me wrong, dude, you're literally talking about one of the most surreal comics. Like, that's what I would love to do with my life. You don't need Uncle Grandpa.
You really don't.
You don't.
I mean, every generation does have its own version of Uncle Grandpa, and that there's...
No, and I don't. That is not true. No, you're not wrong. I totally see what you're saying. Uncle Grandpa's Ren and Stimpy. But Ren and Stimpy, and where my generation would go, soap. It's not a cartoon.
Oh my God, what a great show.
But you're talking about surreal, oddball, crazy humor. Get Smart. Get Smart. Okay, all of those. Uncle Grandpa, you could take some dice and write their script. But Soap, yes, they had a moment of pure surrealism. They had a moment of pure chaos. But 2 episodes later, that all of a sudden makes sense. And that's something that we've lost.
Let me throw out Road Rover.
Oh, good one.
Speaking of Uncle Grandpa, we already have Uncle Grandpa on stage. Uncle Kage.
Dude, if he had the powers of Uncle Grandpa, we'd all be dead.
Okay, so, I realize we've just spent the last 10, 15 minutes getting very deep and very philosophical. How would you guys like to hear us talk about some weird bullshit again?
Also, side tangent, Tsunami introduced me to Neon Genesis,
Evangelion,
Still one of the most contentious cartoons I have ever seen. So, Iggy and Alkali, this one is specifically geared for the 2 of you. Well, we have successfully sent our furry astronauts deep into space.
Okay.
But they've gone too far. They've gone beyond where we've ever thought they could.
Okay.
They have encountered Cthulhu and the old gods, and awoken them, and alerted them to Earth's presence. So now, the elder things are coming. How do we as a family save ourselves from these unknowable beings?
I would like to be the first to worship our new elder gods.
I, for one, welcome our new tentacle overlords.
Yes.
Sprinkle some salt on them.
Unless you're playing Arkham Horror, then I just find 3 cards that say roll 4d6 and re-roll. Man, a Cthulhu question. Freaking wonderful. Okay, so the first thing we do, since we're apparently in the Cthulhu universe, is curtail all the overheard racism. Holy crap.
Wait, racism or xenophobia?
Oh, a little bit of both.
Yeah, lots of both.
I think we could mount a defense if we just borrowed all the Earth's money and then built a cannon and then shot it into the gate, and then it'll come out the back of the gate, and then it'll come out the front of the gate again, just like portal. It's a portal, it's a gate. So when you leave the gate, you come out back to the gate where you came from. So it's just going to continuously kill them forever. It's going to shoot nukes into it.
I can tell that he's waiting to do it. Uncle Kage, do you have a very Jewish song about the Call of Cthulhu?
What?
What?
Wait, what?
I give you permission to sing.
Ya ya, Cthulhu ya ya, Cthulhu ya ya, Cthulhu and Yogg-Sothoth. Ya ya, Cthulhu ya ya, Cthulhu ya ya, Cthulhu and Yogg-Sothoth. Penaya got the tip, Penaya got the tip, Penaya got the tip and Yogg-Sothoth. Dagon, 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 Totagwa, Dagon, Dagon, Totagwa, Dagon, Dagon, Totagwa, Dagon, Dagon, Totagwa, Dagon, Dagon, and Shubnigarov.
I fucking love you.
Carry on.
Here's the thing you need to understand. That's the beautiful thing about furries, about nerds. We would just accept the Cthulhu mythos as our own. Like, yep, we're going to die, but we're going to enjoy the way to hell. Because I was at Gen Con years ago. And as I was walking through Gen Con, a gentleman walked through the tabletop gaming area, and at the top of his yacht, walking through the Gen Con area. At the top of his lung, he yelled, Hastor! 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 And he watched every DM grab every die they had and put it in front of them. As all their players went, that's not fair! They go, that's Cthulhu. get the joke. You guys need to play more or less tabletop.
I'm shoulder deep in slime. Now the time in the fog waits the bird. Sorry.
We're not in Gen Con anymore, are we?
I love your story.
And the old man comes up saying, he's performing a summoning spell, he's taking out the soul. Oh my god, here it comes. Holy shit, I can see the fucking creature, it's coming out from behind him. Oh my god, the going to die. Somebody please help!
That'd be a pretty good way to die.
Alright, cool. So, for me, how do we save the world from Cthulhu? Well, being a furry, I think I'd be a little shocked at first, but if I could maintain my sanity while staring into the Stygian abyss of this unknowable, fathomless creature, I would look deep into the lifeless depths of his eyes, grasp my pencil in one hand and my pad of paper in the other, and say, Cthulhu photography. Sir, would you like a commission?
It's Cthulhu. He's chaotic enough to say yes.
I will become your scribe. I will design the temple upon which the legions of masses shall worship you until you have devoured humanity and returned us from the dust from which we were formed and spat us into the universe.
I was just
Please consider donating.
I would love to mention at this point that this was a panel about history and it took us 47 minutes to go into Cthulhu mythos. Cheers, my friend.
Cheers!
Well done.
Why are we have photography Cthulhu?
Because it is 47 minutes in, I want to give it right back over to our host. Host, what is your next question?
Well, Fury and...
I'm totally lost where we're at.
Okay, well...
Yeah, so did we
Do you
all.
guys have anything you want to say about Cthulhu?
I run a convention. Alkali runs a convention. Uncle Kaguya is running a convention.
Yeah.
So we're already completely insane, so we'll be fine.
Oh, okay.
Valid point.
That's cool. And I've completed the master's thesis, so there's no fucking thing they can do to break my mind more than it's already been broken. Alright, so...
I just say, chill out with that. What the hell, man?
So another... One more question. How are we doing on time?
You have 13 minutes, 12 minutes now.
Okay. So we're going to end with another somewhat serious question here because this is something that I'm honestly curious to hear everyone's input on.
Okay.
All right. So as a historian, I'm exposed to...
Start over there.
Yes, I totally.
Yeah, thank you. We're going to start from this side. So, as a historian, I'm exposed to many different stories over the years, from being a student to working in a museum to completing my my master's thesis. I've encountered many interesting and somewhat terrifying, somewhat awe-inspiring tales. What I would like to know, my panelists, is there a story from history that has particularly touched you? This can be something you learned in school, something you encountered
That's a
at
good one.
museum.
That's a really good one.
If you can summarize it within, let's say, 3 minutes, I'd really like to know what story from history has remained with you always.
So I'm a bad person to start with because history was the one subject I failed.
What?
Oh,
Yeah, I suck at history.
Really?
Very much so.
See, that's what makes you the perfect person to start with because you're the typical audience that I have to deal with who comes walking into a museum and says, I saw your sign out front, I want to look at the object. Here's my $2.
So I'm just going to take the cop-out answer and say our own fandom's history is pretty deep, rich, and interesting. I'm too drunk to say any of it right now. That's the excuse I'm going with. So it's definitely worth looking into. And passing the buck.
That was wonderful.
You get to keep those.
I would have to say World War II kind of in general, because between me and this man right here, we had a 2-hour car ride back from Indianapolis last night. And it felt like it was a 30-minute car ride of how much we talked to each other about World War II and every little detail about that war, how we started from World War I, all the repercussions that were put on Germany, which caused World War II. We went from there. We went to every facet about Winston Churchill. And it was just amazing how much we bounced off of each other and made a car ride that was 2 hours feel like 30 minutes, just talking straight about history. And a lot of the history that I had learned was from Doctor Who, and how it actually uses historical events and actually portrays them accurately. I mean, a lot of the stuff I learned about Churchill and how he was only a great wartime prime minister. We bounced off of that each other, and it was amazing how much history is in World War II. That it's just, and having a living uncle who I also grabbed that information off of about World War II and serving around General Doolittle. I mean, it's just, that is one of the most amazing times in history was World War II. Yes, it was great loss of life, but there's so much we can learn from that era of time.
Speaking of World War II, how many people had family members that were in World War II? Because I had one.
I have one who's still living right now.
At 9.
Jesus.
You got me beat, old man. Yeah. Jesus.
The war ended just before my grandpa got deployed.
Yeah.
Franklin Delano Roosevelt, Kage.
Kage.
Damn it.
That's how you say. That's how you say Jesus in the 1940s.
I'm going to ask myself this question because I'm a storyteller and student of history myself, but I have known men who fought in every American conflict since the Spanish-American War. And one of my babysitters, when I was a little tiny child, was Mrs. Rosenbaum across the street. Mrs. Rosenbaum had a tattoo on her arm. I have too many stories. We're going to pass it on to the next person.
Okay, Kage, just to gauge the audience here, and it's kind of mean to do, but I want to do it anyway. Audience and Kage, next year, would you be interested in sitting down with me at some point, if I can arrange it at this convention, to talk about those kind of stories? Because that's the kind of thing I live for.
Woo! Yeah!
Yeah. I can tell, well, here's the thing. I can tell a lot of other people's stories, but I know them very well. So if you're willing to hear other people's stories, I'm more than willing to tell you.
You've got a library of information inside your head. If you're willing to share it, I'd like to hear it.
I'll do it. Does that mean I'm invited back next year?
Yes.
Oh, God, no.
Hold
on.
I might have to.
Let's see how that goes.
Okay, show of hands. Can I be invited back next year? Thank you.
That's not how anything works.
Shut up!
You're a con chair.
It doesn't matter. Sorry, you. Shut up.
That's why I know that's not how it works.
So, we'll find a way.
Iggy?
You didn't say yours.
Oh, right, yours.
Yeah, I was distracted by.
Sorry.
I was distracted by talking to Kage. Excellent. Can you guys hear me? I don't.
Yeah.
Okay.
This one works.
All right, so here I can tell you that I am completely and utterly enamored with the Great War, World War I. I have an immense respect and abiding love for what is one of the world's deadliest and most shocking conflicts to ever shake the globe. The repercussions from World War I are still being felt today. And I have probably half a dozen stories that have stuck with me from doing research on this period. And I could tell you guys any number of stories from, say, the German soldier who was running across a battlefield and happened to have a shell explode behind him, toss him up into the air, and where he lands inside of a French fort, and he manages to capture and tie up every single guard inside and capture the fort without firing a shot, while so many of his comrades died in 1916. No, it was not Steve, you fucker. But instead, I think I'd like to share something a little bit more uplifting and a little bit more hopeful with you guys. World War I is significant for a number of reasons. It marks the end of what we know, what the world knew as the romantic idea of war. Before this time, war was seen as the great adventure. It was something you went off to basically become a man. You got a shiny uniform, you marched in step, you learned how to conduct yourself as a soldier, you shot at the enemy a few times, and you came home crowned in glory. And America's concept of the Romantic War had died during the American Civil War in the 1860s. But this happened on a much grander scale for the entire world during the First World War. And I'd have to say Christmas of 1914 is one story that sticks with me always, because the war started in 1914, and hundreds of thousands of men that were very young went off to fight battles that they knew almost nothing about, and they died by the scores, by the hundreds, by the thousands. But in December of 1914, spontaneously, along certain points of the Western Front, between British and French troops, on Christmas Eve, there was an unofficial ceasefire. It began with the English seeing a line of lights being lit up upon the German trench lines. They were facing each other across what was known as no man's land, which is anywhere from 200 to 300 yards of this blasted hellscape where men crisscross back and forth, trying to charge the enemy trenches, trying to kill each other with bayonets and guns and flamethrowers and hatchets and all manner of weapons. And the English were very worried because they thought, well, they must be preparing for a night attack. Then, across the snow-covered fields, they heard a Christmas song. Exactly. The Germans were singing Silent Night. And some of the British troops began to reply. And as the days went on, an official ceasefire was declared at certain points along the line. This was a time when certain troops, in certain areas, troops came out of their trenches. They exchanged gifts of chocolate, of beer, of whiskey, of tobacco. Wow, I'm sensing a pattern here. Lots of drugs and some chocolate. All the comforts of home, I guess. In one memorable exchange, a British officer ran up a white flag and yelled over to the Germans, "Don't shoot," in German. "We will send you some beer."
Wir haben Bier. Wir haben Bier für Sie.
And the Germans said, "Okay, we will come out if you do not shoot."
Ja, nicht schießen, wir kommen.
And they came out of their trenches and they exchanged gifts.
Geschenk, not gift. Gift is poison in German.
God damn it.
Okay. Geschenk. They have a geschenk.
Yeah, at one occasion there was a meeting between a British officer and a German officer. And the German officer, and I can't remember his name for the life of me, I feel terrible. The British officer removed his scarf that his wife had sent him as a Christmas present and presented it to the British Tommy. And the officer was so moved by this gift and so ashamed that he didn't have anything of comparative worth to give to this man, sent his aide to run all the way back across his front lines to his tent, where he asked the aide to bring him the gloves that he had received that were handmade by his own wife, which he presented to the German officer. And the Germans, in typical German style, I want to point out that this ceasefire did not happen at all points along the German line. The Western Front. At some points, this was just a friendly ceasefire. At other points, it was just a time when nobody attacked each other. But for those magical areas where men came out of their trenches, where they interacted, where they shared gifts, where they had a soccer game, which the Germans won 2-3. There were letters that were written to German newspapers, and I want to end with a quote, as best I can remember it from one. A young German soldier who was, I believe, about 19 years old, writes back to his hometown and says, "Yesterday, our trenches were shelled with a terrific bombardment of Christmas packages. No one was spared. I am sorry to report that a young German soldier suffered a sausage speared directly into his gut. Another poor soul had his face peppered with raisins from an exploding pastry. And an unfortunate youth suffered the unenviable demise of having to deal with an entire bottle of cognac fired directly into his mouth." And that is a story that sticks with me always, because in the midst of what is, to me, the most terrible conflict to ever rip apart the world, these men, for the last time during the war, were able to step out of their trenches, and even though they were cold, they were tired, they longed for home, they were able to bring each other a little bit of comfort on a day that was sacred to them all. And I'm sorry I talk a lot.
Let's try a little experiment. Let's watch his face. We are the dead. Scant days ago we lived, felt dawn, saw sunsets glow, loved, and were loved, and now we lie in Flanders fields. This is getting kind of heavy. Maybe we should lighten this up a little bit. Alkali has a tiny dick. Nobody's it's like, remember he's Jewish, they cut too much off.
Way too much.
I listened to the Dragon Show, and I know way too much about this man's dick secondhand.
I don't know which one of you I am angrier at. No! You two are not allowed within, how fat am I? 20 feet of each other.
It's too late. It's too late. You're too big. You have gravitational pull. We're your moons now.
My friend, I will end you with a quote of mine that I have loved.
So it's Moon.
God damn it, Moon.
As anyone who has ever seen my fat ass naked will tell you, that's no moon.
You do the great honor of sending us off with a Chicago toast.
Shit. All right, here we go. Guys, before we do this, I would like to give it up to your host, the historian,
I'd like to thank all of my panelists who came out here at very short notice, especially to Poker, who was very kind and allowed me to do this panel. This has been an amazing experience. I would very much like to come back and do this again next year for all of you. Alkali, please take it away!
Just so you know, the very next panel in here is MST3K. If you don't know what it is, oh boy.
It's a mistake.
Without further ado, the Chicago toast. Here's to you, here's to me, forever friends we will be. And if we ever disagree, fuck you, here's to me. Cheers. Very good job, my friend.
Thank you very much.
Guys, we are going to reset the room one more time for your panelists and your host. This has been Tipsy Time Machine. Guys, we're going to reset everything and get ready for MST3K. If you don't know what this is, we're about to watch a movie, raise money for charity, and get drunk as shit. We don't tell you the movie until it starts.
Mostly because we don't know.
Silver Gato Man, he bought me a coffee. Silver Gato Man, here is the song for thee. He likes to video all the panels at the cons. You should go and watch them whether they are short or long. Silver Gato Man, you video that's not a jibe. All of you go to his YouTube channel and like and subscribe.